Hey gorgeous, welcome back to the makeup aisle. Today's video is going to be my review, tutorial, and also swatches on two Karity palettes. The ones that I have here are the matte palette and the frost palette. I purchased the matte palette probably a few weeks ago and had just swatched them at home, had done a look at home just to kind of see how I felt the shadows performed, how they blended out, how they wore as the day went on, and that sort of thing. And then the frost palette, the company was nice enough to send to me, which was a really nice surprise. So thank you very much to Karity for for sending that over. It's very much appreciated. So thank you. I'm very, very flattered and very touched that they like I said, sent that over to me. So we're going to start with the matte palette, and basically this is what the outside looks like. It's just a cardboard packaging, but it's a pretty nice cardboard packaging. And then in the back they have the palette laid out, and then all the colors, although inside the palette itself the names are underneath the colors, which I know sometimes people think that might be a small thing, but that's a really nice little added touch for anybody, any makeup company, to put the names underneath the shadows. I think it just makes it easier to work with. When you open it up, you do not have a mirror, but that's basically what the palette looks like there. And like I said, the names on the of the shades are underneath each shadow. All matte, like I said, very vibrant colors, very nice colors. You have basically a palette where you can do so many looks because you have so many different color variations. You have brights, you have some nude colors, some warmer colors, you have a nice matte white, which I love to highlight the brow bone with. So you just have a really nice smattering of colors that I think are very cohesive, can do very many looks with this palette. So for that, I really like the way they put this together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the swatches on this palette. I'm going to swatch one entire row on my hand, and like I said, it's going to be finger swatches. There will be no primer down, so I just want to kind of get that out so you understand what the shades look like without primer and just finger swatches. And what I did when I first got the palette, and what I'm going to do now as well, is I will just rub my finger softly on each color and count to 5 so that each time I go into a different color, it's basically the same technique that I'm using. I'm not going to be rubbing up and down one way to the side or round or doing 10 instead of 5. I want it to be very comparable across the row that I'm doing, so that's the way I'm going to do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and swatch the first row, and then we'll take a look at what those look like. So I went ahead and swatched the top row. That is what they look like there. So this top one here, which is the matte white, is Caress. The one underneath it is called Whisper. The one underneath it, which is that orange, is Cancun. The fuchsia is Alexi. The blue is Enchant. The green, which is a very pastel green, is Feign. And then the gray is Sinful. So that is what they look like. And again, this is just swirling my finger in each color 5 times, putting it on my arm with no primer. So I've swatched the second row, and this is what they look like right here. The first one up top is Luxuria. The second, which is kind of like an orangey brown, is Coquette. The red is NSFW, which means not so fucking what. The very bright pink is Lumbia. The purple is Ego. The green is Wicked, and the brown is Nimbus. So I swatched the final row, and this is what they look like here. So starting at the top, that yellow is called Tweety. The orange is called Vegas. The brown is called Unsafe. And then the darker brown is called Huntress. The blue is called Phantom. The green is called Medusa. And then the black is called Disturbia. So overall, the matte palette I like very much. You do get a little bit of fallout with these shades, but I think because they are matte, that is kind of par for the course, but you don't get too much. So it's not something that's very dusty. Sometimes you put your brush in some eyeshadows and it literally just poofs into the air. That is not the case with these shadows, or something that I have found, and I have used a lot of these shades already. I think they're very nice and vibrant. You do have to build some up a little more than others. I did notice that with the purple when I was doing the look today, and you will notice that when I'm doing the tutorial that I really had to just pick up the shade, not tap off any excess, and then, you know, like really pile it on. But once it was piled on, the good thing about that was, about these shadows is that they blend out really, really nicely. It's not because, you know, like if I put a lot in one section that it doesn't blend out, then we have an issue. But that wasn't the case here. So even though I piled on a lot of color, I was able to spread it around my eyelid. I was able to blend it out very, very well. Like I said, one of the things I like about the matte palette is that you do get a lot of different shades. You not only get brights, but you get some quote-unquote dull colors like the browns and the blacks. You get a gray there, but that's good because then you can put together a lot of different looks. This palette doesn't lend itself just to colorful looks. I mean, when you look at it, of course, that's the first thing you think about, especially because of this section right here. But overall, I'm very, very pleased with the matte palette. I really like this look. I like the way it came together. It feels nice on the eyes, blends out nicely, so I'm going to keep it on for several hours. When I did do the look before, again, I did it at home just to test them out. Nothing that I filmed. I was very pleased that after several hours, the colors were still just as vibrant. They were where I placed them. A lot of times now I am looking for if shadows are going to basically kind of congeal upon themselves or oxidize where they just turn into like a muddy brown. Are the colors are going to, you know, are they going to stay vibrant? Are they going to stay where you put them? So that's one of the things that I look for now when I'm testing out eyeshadows, especially now that I'm doing reviews on stuff like that. So moving on to the Frost palette, this is basically shimmer shades, and that's what it looks like there. So here as well, you have a lot of different color variations. You have some pinks, some blues, yellows, some brown colors. You have a black here, that's really glittery, but the rest of them are just shimmery. I do pick up my shimmers using a wet brush with my Fix Plus. It's just the way I do it. There's rarely an eyeshadow, shimmer eyeshadow that just goes perfectly on the eye without using any Fix Plus. So if I know I'm going to be using a shimmer, I just go straight to the Fix Plus, wet my brush, and pick it up that way. So the two shades that I used today were Crystal and Trouble, which were very nice. I liked the way they looked. I haven't really used the other colors. I have only swatched them, but I do like the way they swatch. They're very vibrant, very soft colors. You don't get a lot of kick up from them because even some shimmer shadows, if they're really not made well, you do get some sort of like balling up of the color. And I did not notice that with this palette. So I am going to go ahead and swatch the top row, and then we can check out all the swatches. So I swatched the top row, and that is what that looks like. I'm hoping that the camera is picking that up because they are pretty shimmery when you're looking at them just, you know, straight on your arm or whatever in real life, if you will. They are very shimmery, very soft when you put them on. And again, I did the same thing. I just swirled my finger in each color 5 times lightly, and then just ran it across my arm. So the top shade there that is almost like a gold color is Foreplay. The one underneath it is Janet. The one underneath that is Woola. And then the kind of pinky in the middle here is Bubbly. The green is Envy. The darker green under there is Madam. And then the silver is called Eiffel. So here are the swatches for the second row. The top one, which is actually more like a gold than the first one I had showed you, that's more yellowish. That one's called Nugget. Then the one under there is called Strung Out. The one under that is Rouge. The pink is Overdose. That really bright teal is Crystal. And then the one underneath it is Dewdrop. And then the gray shimmer is called Boo. So this is the third row of colors. The top one there is called Gold Digger. The one under there is called Sierra, which I like a lot. It's almost like a bronzy type shimmer. The one under that is called Felicia. The purple is Queen. The blue, which is my favorite out of the whole palette, is Trouble. The green is Dorothy. And then that really nice black sparkle is called Viscous. So overall for this Frost palette, I really like the shadows. I like the way they apply on the eyes. Once I put the Fix Plus, like I said, I usually do not try to use shimmer shadows on their own, so I didn't do it with this palette. I just automatically use Fix Plus. It's just the way I do it. But I loved the way it went on the eye. Very slick, very nice to blend out, even though they're shimmers. I thought very vibrant as well, and as you can see from the swatches, they look really, really nice. Like I said, you may not catch that on camera too much, but just looking at them on my arm, they are very iridescent, but also almost like jewel toned for those colors like the blue, the purple, the green, the teal color as well. Very jewel toned in real life, which I really like. So overall, again, with this palette, I'm very pleased with it, just like I am with the matte palette. This is definitely something that I'm going to be using a lot, especially because it is all frost or all shimmer. That way, when I want a shimmer and I just want a little variety, I can just take this palette out and use it in conjunction with another palette to create a look. So that is my take on the Karity palettes, both the matte and the frost. We're going to get into the tutorial in just a few moments to recreate the look that you see here. If you have any questions, specific questions about this palette, or maybe another look that you'd like to see, please leave that below in the comment bar. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. To start, I'm going to go into the Frost palette and I am going to pick up two colors. The first color I'm going to pick up is this teal shade right here, which is Crystal. And then I'm going to pick up Trouble, which is the blue underneath there. And I am going to pack Trouble on top of Crystal and then Crystal again on top of that, because I want there to be a lot of shift in the color when you're actually looking at it. So I'm just picking up a flat synthetic brush. This one is by Wet n Wild. I am going to wet my brush with my Fix Plus, and then I'm going to pick up that shade Crystal. Now I'm just going to concentrate that, as you can see over on this eye, just in the center, and I'm bringing it up just a bit. I'm then going to dip into Trouble, and I'm just going to go right over top Crystal. I'm going to go back in one last time with Crystal and put that on top of Trouble. I'm then going to go into the matte palette. I'm going to pick up the purple, which is Ego right here. And I'm going to be using my Juvia's Place J127 Precision Brush. I want it to be fluffy, but I don't want it to be too big because I want to still keep some control over that. So I'm just going to start packing that purple all through the lid. As you can see, I'm not really being neat with it right away. I just want to pack that color on and get my placement right, and then afterwards I will go ahead and blend it all together. And if you notice too, I'm going kind of into that blue up top because I don't really want there to be any space between where the blue is and where the purple will be. At this point, I'm going to take a fluffy brush with absolutely no color on it, and I'm just going to blend out that purple. As you can see, the edges have been softened up a bit, so I just want to keep blending until it's soft the way I want it. We don't want any harsh edges, and especially when you're using very bright colors or very vibrant colors, you definitely want to make sure to blend because it can become a mess very, very quickly. I'm going to go into the matte palette again, and I am going to just grab another fluffy brush here. This is one from ColourPop, and I am going to go into Alexi, which is this kind of purpley pink right here. I'm going to grab just a bit to start blending out the top a little more, but to also add an extra color. I'm going to then go back in with the purple, and I am going to just basically darken up the area where the purple was just to make sure that it stays vibrant. And we're going to blend that out again. I'm going to use the Frost palette again, and I'm going to pick up Crystal, and I'm going to pack that on the lid again just to make sure that that stays vibrant, because we lost a little bit with all the blending and adding of the purple. I'm going to take the white matte in the matte palette, which is called Caress, and I am just going to highlight the brow bone. We're going to now clean up under the eyes because this is super messy, but we want to make sure we get all of that off. So I'm just going to be starting in the inner corner and pulling it out. And as usual, I'm going to use my cleansing wipe here to sharpen up the edges on the outside. Sometimes that's easier for me than tape is. So I cleaned up under my eyes, and I also decided to just do my liner off camera. Sometimes it's quicker. And what I'm going to do is, I don't know if you can notice on this side, I just added a little visual, little pop of something. I used my L'Oreal Infallible Paints liquid eyeliner, and this is in 310 White Party. I love the looks where people put like the white line and then another black line underneath. I'm probably not going to do that for this look, but I wanted to add the white line, so I'm going to do that on the other side as well. So that's what that looks like. Hopefully you can see that because it's kind of light even though it is white. So what we're going to do now is we are going to finish off the rest of the face and then finish off the eyes. So I'm going to zoom you back just a bit. And I'm going to start off with my Makeup Forever Step 1 Mattifying Primer. For corrector, I'm going to go in with my Naked Skin color correcting fluid from Urban Decay. It's one of my favorites. I know you guys are probably tired of hearing about it, but it is really a good corrector. I'm going to take my dry Real Technique sponge and then just press that into the skin. For foundation today, I decided to use my MAC Pro Longwear Foundation because I wanted something that was full coverage. And I am in the shade NW40. And I'm taking my damp beauty blender and I am just going to press that into the skin. For concealer today, I'm going to use my NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer, which is my favorite. It's very full coverage and just sits beautifully under the eyes. I really do love this, this concealer a lot. It's just wonderful. The great thing about this concealer is that you really don't need too much to really make an impact under the eyes because it is such a full coverage concealer. And then I'm going to grab my beauty blender again with the pointed end and just press that into the skin. Then I'm going to grab my Anastasia banana powder for under my eyes and set the concealer. For the rest of the face, I'm going to be using my Flower Beauty loose powder just to set that. Even though it's sort of a matte finish, I always like to make sure that my face is completely matte because I do have an oily T-zone and I do tend to get a little slick during the day. So what I'm going to do to finish off the bottom of the eyes is that I'm going to grab one of the frost colors, which is Queen. It's a purple. I'm going to line the lower lash line. Then I'm going to use the matte purple to buff that out. And then I'm going to use the teal frost color in the middle for some visual appeal, just to really bring down the colors that we used up top down to the bottom. So I am going to grab my flat definer brush as I normally do, and I'm going to pick up that frosty purple, which is called Queen, and that's right here. So what I like about these frost colors is that they're just that, they're just frosts. They're not full of glitter or chunkiness. The only one that I see that's like that is Viscous, which is the black one, so that has a lot of glitter in it. But the rest are just nice and soft, because usually I will not put shadows underneath my eyes that have glitter, because sometimes you get them in your eyes, and that is extremely uncomfortable. But these are just basically just softer than a matte and have like a metallic shift to it, which I really like. I'm going to grab Ego, which is the matte purple here, and I am going to take my Morphe E36 brush, and I am going to buff that frost out with this matte purple. So the purple is laid down. It's also buffed out, which I really like the way it looks, because it is a really nice purple underneath the eyes. I'm going to grab Crystal, which is the teal frost right here, and I'm going to grab my flat definer brush again, because I want a lot of control as to where I put this shade. So I'm literally just going to go right in the middle and kind of move it a little back and forth to get the color onto the eyes, and just kind of buff it out a bit, but I just want it in the middle. It really didn't take a lot to actually get that down on the eyes, which is really good. In fact, I was able to use one swipe through the color for both eyes, and I think it looks really, really nice. It almost brightens up that middle on the bottom, because that shade is so iridescent. So for the inner corner, I am going to grab a frosty color, because I really want that to pop, and I'm going to grab Janet, which is almost like a white but with a pinky-ness to it, so I want to pop that in the inner corner. I'm going to grab my Real Techniques smudge brush, as I usually do, and I'm just going to pop that in the inner corner. To bronze the face today, I am going to be using my Makeup Revolution Ultra Bronze, and that's what that looks like. I'm just going to grab my BH Cosmetics V1 Fluffy Brush, and I'm just going to bronze the outer portion of the face. For blush today, I am going to dip into my Smashbox LA Lights palette, which was one of my favorite purchases. This came out, I want to say, I think last Christmas. It sold out pretty quickly, but it's a really nice palette. You get a lot of options. For highlighter today, I'm going to use the Wet n Wild MegaGlo highlighting powder, and I just got this in the mail. This is the purple one, the new one. It's called Royal Calyx. I'm definitely sold on that highlighter. It is absolutely gorgeous. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put on my false lashes, tight line the bottom of my eyes, and then come back because, you know, sometimes putting on the lashes on camera can take a while. So I will be back after I put on my lashes. So I popped on my false lashes, and the ones that I'm using today are the Allure lashes from Coco Lashes. I had picked these up at IMAX when I was there in April. So to finish off the look, I decided that I didn't want to do a lipstick today, so I am going to use a gloss. I'm using my Gerard Cosmetics Plum Crazy Gloss. I really do like this gloss a lot. So that is the finished look. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you have any questions regarding the actual shadows, just please leave them down below in the comments section. As you saw at the beginning of this video, you're going to have swatches of each of the colors. Remember that they are finger swatches. I did not put any primer down or anything like that, but you saw the tutorial. I did have primer on my eyes. I believe that I did not say that, but I always prime my eyes. But overall, I very much enjoyed using these shadows. I think that the colors are very vibrant and very beautiful. I love the overall look and love the fact that there's still many more looks to be done with this palette. So thank you again for spending a few moments of your day with me. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Also click that little bell so you get alerted as to whenever I upload new videos. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.